The Madman!
Welcome to another day of March of the Lich King card reveal reviews. This time we got some warrior cards, we got some demon hunter cards. We'll begin with the cool legendary that warrior has, Azvedon, the Grand Shield. 3 mana 3/3 battlecry, cast a copy of the last spell your opponent played. Certainly going to see play in all the control decks for control warrior, and has some potential in perhaps the other decks as well. The only reason why I hesitate on that, sometimes spells are reactive. Like if your opponent plays removal spells against your, tempo heavy warrior, you may not want to play an Azvedon in that circumstance, which means maybe it's too reactive, maybe it depends too much on what your opponent does. But when you're a control player, there will be a time where your opponent will cast an amazing value spell, and you get to copy it for 3 mana, and you get to 3/3 with it. So that's just a really good deal. There's a fun little meme where you can play this after the Quest Priest plays the win the game shard, and then you win the game. Warrior also has Disruptive Spellbreaker to ruin the opponent's spells. 5 mana 4/5 at the end of your turn, your opponent discards a spell. Azure Drake, for comparison, 5 mana 4/5, draw a card. Disruptive Spellbreaker, 5 mana 4/5, opponent discards a card, spell. So very similar to Azure Drake, except this is a constant ongoing threat. So it basically has must remove as well, and if they don't remove it, then they're going to discard more spells. There is the downside that if your opponent does not have a spell in the hand, this is a 5 mana 4/5. So from that respect, it probably won't see very much play in the aggro decks, possibly as a mid-range disruption tool, kind of similar to Loatheb. Loatheb makes the opponent's spells cost more, but Spellbreaker might discard the spell that is actually important to remove your board. And in Control Warrior, perhaps this is good for the Combo Breaker element and the Attrition element where you just outlast your opponent's cards. This card will get rid of one of your opponent's cards, so at worst it's a 1-for-1, plus they have to deal with the 4/5 somehow, which is probably another card. And finally, for Warrior, there's Last Stand. 4 mana, draw a Taunt minion, double its stats. If you draw the Morshan Elite, you get a 5 mana 8/8 with Taunt, and then Battlecry. If your hero attacked this turn, summon a copy of this, which means if you equipped a weapon on turn 3, you can swing with the weapon on turn 5, play your Morshan Elite, and have 2 8/8s. Wow. From that perspective, the Last Stand is similar to having played an 8/8. Hey, if that's not exciting enough, you can double the stats on Silver Fury Stalwart, which is a card that was revealed in this expansion. 6 mana 4/8, Taunt Rush, can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. That would become a 6 mana 8/16, so you can immediately kill off one of your opponent's minions, and that's a pretty hard minion to remove. Ultimately, I don't really see that as unfair enough compared to the other unfair things other decks can do. So, interesting card, but probably not good enough. Demon Hunters get an Outcast theme. Fellerin the Forgotten, 4 mana 3/3, Battlecry, add a random Outcast card to the left and right sides of your hand. They cost 2 less. There's not that many Outcast cards in Standard right now. You're going to have a pretty small pool of what you can pull from, and while they're not exceptionally strong, you might have noticed that very few Demon Hunters actually run any Outcast cards at the moment. When you add them to the left and right sides of your hand, they will start with Outcast, and they're even discounted at 2 less. Pretty much any card that you get at 2 less from Outcast is going to be valuable. From that perspective, if the Outcast card that costs 2 less is better than a normal card, then Fellerin is a 4 mana 3/3 that draws you 2 cards that are better than average, which is a good deal. I can see Fellerin just being slotted into a number of Demon Hunter decks. Now, if you really like the Outcast theme, the other 3 cards all play off of Outcast. Starting with 1 mana, Fierce Outsider, 2/1, Rush, Outcast. Your next Outcast card costs 1 less. It's a 0 mana 2/1 Rush. Not terribly exciting, and I don't think that there's enough Outcast cards that support this idea to play with Fierce Outsider, but if you did want to play a very small mana deck, that's how you activate your Outcast, by getting cards like Fierce Outsider out of the way, so your Outcast cards can slip to the left side of your hand so you can play them. I guess perhaps you would do that, so then you could follow up with Wretched Exile, a 2-mana 2/3. After you play an Outcast card, add a random Outcast card to your hand. You know, the fun thing about that is if you keep generating Fierce Outsiders, you can just keep playing the Fierce Outsiders. Bam, 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 bam. That's the dream, but the dream may be a meme. It's a decent value generator. It reminds me of Stargazer Luna. But the problem is random Outcast cards as the value Demon Hunter deck seems unlikely to be good. Demon Hunter does already have a value deck, which is the Relic deck, and it's hard to see the Outcast value beating the Relic value. But perhaps one thing that Demon Hunter has going for the Outcast theme is, let's look at the big payoff. The Vengeful Walloper, 7-mana 5/5 demon with Rush, costs 1 less for each Outcast card you've played this game. If you thought Corridor Creeper was good, what about a 0-mana 5/5 Rush? So yeah, that's a payoff. Definitely encourages you to go with the Outcast theme, but I think with only this amount of Outcast cards, again, there are a few Demon Hunter cards we haven't seen yet. However, on the other hand, these cards are revealed as a package, and we didn't see any other Outcast cards here, so are there going to be more Outcast cards? There definitely might not be. This possibly is the start of a longer-term Outcast package. If there are no more Outcast cards planned to be revealed this set, I'm not seeing these cards as particularly relevant, though they will probably eventually be relevant. But hey, I always like value cards for Demon Hunter, such as Fellerin, so that'll perhaps get me to liking the Demon Hunter class a little bit more. Demon Hunter does have that all-spell theme going on for it as well, the no-minion theme. We'll see if the other cards provide that kind of support.